169? Where is 169 in comparison to?
The map's on the other side there. I thought it was right up the way, just a little ways. Down the same hall.
I don't see a 169. 66.
Is there a listing
There
for
should be one, but it's not on the map, and it's not highlighted yellow. Oh, wait, no, there it is. Off. Oh, it's. Yeah. Okay, I know where to direct them. Everybody's pouring in now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just around the corner. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. How are you?
Doing well. What do you think?
Oh, I don't know. Just getting started.
Oh yeah. Everybody has to run a little bit long, don't they?
Yeah. Yep.
Restrooms.
To the left. Yeah. Morning. Good morning. Good. How are you? Okay, looks good, I think. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'm Kurt Bernhardt. I'm the Executive Director of Education Technology for the State Department of Ed. I handle anything and everything regarding technology from E-rate to get broadband to schools all the way down to the classroom. This session, how many people here, first of all, are teachers? Quite a few. Administrators, principals, other? Okay. Tech directors? Great. Okay, I'm kind of gearing this towards administrators, tech directors, and so forth, district level, but I'll cover a little bit of everything. This is basically, I'm working hard across the state to try to get all districts to move more and more towards digital learning. I'm a tech advocate, so very interested in getting technology in the hands of students. So you'll be seeing this in all sessions today, talking about our standards. With ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act that was passed in 2015 has now taken place. It's the replacement for No Child Left Behind. Within that law, it's redefining professional development, and we're using what's called the Learning Forward standards for those, for PD. Learning Forward is a national association recognized as leaders in professional learning, established standards for professional learning, etc. This session aligns to the following standards. There are 7 different standards, and this one aligns. I didn't realize I put all that text up there. That's way too much to read, but learning communities, actually, that was the slide. Okay, One of those actually I'm not really, learning communities actually isn't covered. Leadership, resources, data, learning designs, implementations, outcomes. Basically this session covers quite a few of them. So history of computing in education. This is kind of the 3 steps that we've gone through. First of all, it started out with computer labs. Mainly it was just a lab that you had in your school. Make sure I'm not... okay, I guess that's the camera over there. Okay. This is, they're live streaming this. But the computer lab where students attended, they went to the lab once a week, twice a week, whatever it might be. Second phase is kind of computers at stations in the classroom, where most classrooms have 1 or 2, 3 computers. My wife's a teacher. That's kind of where they are right now. She's got 3 computers in her classroom that's used for AR testing and other things. And then, to me, the goal is moving to where we have devices in all the students' hands. So 1 device per child. So why 1 device per student? First of all, I should get an idea of are we all from the Oklahoma City area, rural, urban? Who's in urban areas or suburban areas? And rural areas? Okay, great, good. 1 device per student, personalized learning. I was just at the ISTE conference, and teachers were talking about how they don't like this term. Personalized learning to me just means making the learning directed for each child where they are in the things, so individualized based on the child. And to me, when you have one-to-one devices, that helps move that direction, where you can have children at the level where they need to be. Competency-based learning kind of goes along with this. I have a perfect example. I've got 3 sons. I've got twins. They're now 12, getting ready to enter 8th grade. But they've had the same parents, of course. They've had the same teachers, same instruction and everything. But they've moved, actually, at different levels. I've got Connor and Cooper. Cooper, in 3rd, 4th grade, mastered his multiplication tables. He's got them down. You can ask him anything. He immediately spits out the answer. Connor didn't quite get him there. But they're all moving at the same pace. They moved on. We didn't realize this until like 5th grade, that he really doesn't know his multiplication tables as well as he should. So that's kind of the competency-based learning, is just kind of moving along with each child. My son basically was kind of, they kept moving forward, and he really hadn't gotten his multiplication tables down. So we got him some games on his iPad and other things that really help drill those in. So he's much closer to where Cooper is, and they're moving along well. So, but having those 1 device per child, you can have 1 child be, if they don't know their multiplication tables yet, they're doing those extra drills to get their skills up. Preparing students for the modern workforce. What job these days isn't computer-centric, where there's computers involved? Teaching digital citizenship, very important these days in the area of social media and everything else, just teaching students how to behave like citizens online, behave well. And then there's the 2016 ISTE standards, which I'll cover now. Just kind of, this is ISTE, for those who don't know, is the International Society for Technology and Education. They are a national, international group, basically, whose job is to promote the use of technology in the classroom. Did anybody attend ISTE? Happens every summer. They just had it down in San Antonio. But they came up with standards back in 2007 for students. They do student standards, teacher standards, administrator standards, etc. We actually adopted the 2007 standards. We had legislation that made it our official technology standards for integrating technology in the classroom. They've now released the 2016 standards. We haven't officially adopted them yet, but they are very good standards. There's 7 different ones. So I'm going to run through those real quick. I need to pay attention to the time here. I will be ending at 9:50. I've been told we have to stay on schedule. So, students leverage technology. The empowered learner. Students leverage technology to take an active role in choosing, achieving, and demonstrating competency. You see those words like competency and everything else in there. 2 is digital citizen, just like I mentioned. Basically, Important for students to recognize the rights, responsibilities, and opportunities of living, learning, and working in an interconnected digital world. Third, knowledge constructor. Students critically curate a variety of resources using digital tools to construct knowledge, produce creative artifacts, and make meaningful learning experiences for themselves and others. Innovative designer. Students use a variety of technologies within a design process to identify and solve problems. Fifth, computational thinker. Students develop and employ strategies for understanding and solving problems in ways that leverage the power of technology. I mean, to me, that's technology is so prevalent. I mean, these days, who doesn't Google things? If you need to know something, you go out there and find an answer. Research online. Creative communicator. Students communicate clearly and express themselves creatively for a variety of purposes using platforms, tools, styles, etc. And finally, global collaborator. Something I'm very big on is kind of getting students to experience more than the world in their classroom and kind of see other things. You can use technology to connect to professional experts during class time, connect to other classes across the country, whatever it might be. But just teaching them how to use digital tools to broaden their perspectives. But that's the 7 ISTE standards. More information, you can go to ISTE.org. It's very easy to find. Or just type in ISTE standards and they'll come up. Quick lesson. Anybody who knows about SAMR in this? SAMR is a model for integrating technology in the classroom. It's an acronym. Of course, we love acronyms in education. SAMRs start from the bottom and go up. You got substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. Basically, there's 4 different levels of integration of technology in the classroom. I'm going to show a video here for real quick. One of the things they point out in the video, which I think is very important to know, some people look at this as a ladder, like you start at substitution and then you go up to redefinition. I think it's basically 4 different areas that 4 different ways you can use technology in the classroom, and then you move up and down based on the current lesson, whatever it might be. It may just be substitution sometimes. It may be redefinition the other times. Let's see if I can get this to work properly. Oh, it's actually the notes. This was created by students to explain SAMR. And I don't know about this.
Okay, we all know that using technology in school can help students learn. But how can our teachers reflect on how effectively they're using technology?
Well, that's what this model is for, the SAMR model. It's kind of like a Bloom's taxonomy for educators.
It was created by this guy, Dr. Ruben Fuentedora, who believes that using technology allows us to think differently and perform new tasks.
After all, if we have today's technology, then why teach like we did 20 years ago?
There's 4 different levels and 2 different sections in SAMR.
Let's take a look at the first level, substitution.
This is where the technology used acts as a direct substitute. Let's take the task of persuasive essay writing. I could write an essay by hand, or I could type an essay using the basic features of a word processing program.
The task is the same, and there's no functional change. The technology is being used as a substitute.
Lots of teachers start out at this level, but don't worry, because substitution is not a bad thing.
Even the best teachers visit this level from time to time.
The next level is called augmentation. This is where the task is still the same, but the tech allows for some sort of functional improvement. So instead of writing our persuasive essay on paper, we could use a program like Google Docs.
With this software, the task is still the same, but the unique features of a collaborative document provide some functional improvement.
In both these levels, the technology is used to simply enhance a lesson. This technology may make tasks more efficient, but it's not likely to make a big difference in future outcomes. Most learning takes place above the line, and it starts with modification.
Here, the technology is used to provide a significant task redesign.
So instead of simply writing an essay, a student could publish a WordPress blog using text, embedded videos, pictures, and other web links to convey their argument. The audience is no longer just the teacher either.
It's the entire world.
People from anywhere with an internet connection could review or comment on their writing, allowing for deeper analysis.
The final level and the ultimate goal of technology integration is redefinition.
Here, the technology allows for the creation of new tasks that were previously inconceivable. Instead of writing that essay, students could now create and publish a digital storytelling project to argue their writing with multimedia.
Plus, just like the blog, through publishing this movie to the world, it allows for other people to comment and analyze their message.
So the heart of the assignment is still the same, but the technology allows them to engage in a new, more involved task that's otherwise not possible.
At these levels, learning is transformed through the use of technology. When we are more engaged and involved, significant improvements in learning are more likely to take place.
Different people have different ideas about SAMR. Some think that SAMR is like a ladder that you climb. You start at substitution and work your way up to redefinition.
Others think each level is like a swimming pool that you swim in or visit from time to time throughout the school year, and that's okay.
Because no matter the interpretation, the real power of the framework is that it promotes reflective teaching in the classroom. What you do, why you do it, and how it helps learning.
By thinking about the different levels, teachers can focus on designing digital learning experiences that will help improve student outcomes.
See, the thing about SAMR is this. It's not the type of tech tool that defines the level. It's how the individual teacher uses it in their lesson.
So whether you're substituting or redefining learning,
remember the ultimate outcome for integrating technology should be simple. Maximizing student success. Want more information on SAMR? Check out the...
Okay, so that's SAMR. Substitution, augmentation, modification, redefinition. And again, I think it's something that, depending on the lesson, depends on where you are in the SAMR model. So there's two ways to move to student devices. First of all, what I recommend getting started, it's great if you've got bonds and other things where you can get one device per child immediately. But my thinking is start with carts. You have one cart per school, one cart per class. Two carts per school and so forth, and you just keep adding as you can. And it just gets technology in the hands of the students. Or you can do one-to-one devices for all students. There's 3 different ways of doing this. You can basically do school-owned devices, which, like I said, typically need bonds or other things in order to get those devices. Those prices are coming down. They're getting cheaper and cheaper. Then there's bring your own device, BYOD, which is basically allows students to have their own devices and connect those devices to the school's network and use those. And then there's a combination of school-owned versus BYOD. Anybody here from, first of all, who has one-to-one devices in their classrooms? Or who has carts? Quite a few where you have carts that are available. Basically, check out whenever you need to. And then one-to-one device. Anybody in here BYOD where all their students are allowed to bring their devices and connect? A couple? Oh. Some stats from the state. We have 289 districts that have device carts. Here's kind of just a breakdown. Windows, Chromebook, tablets, Mac, Linux. We actually have 4 districts with Linux carts. Carts by school type, it's pretty evenly spread. About 200 districts, elementary, middle school, high school. One-to-one devices, as far as what's going on in the state, we have 15 districts who have one-to-one devices in all grades. Largest district is Enid. They've just moved to one-to-one. They have 8,000 students, and our smallest district is Yarborough. Anybody here from Yarborough or Enid? Okay. Which district? Yarborough. So how long have you had?
I'm from around there, not Yarborough.
Oh, not Yarborough. Okay. Okay. So 127 districts have at least one grade with one-to-one devices. Some of the larger districts have some schools with all one-to-one grades. You've got Oklahoma City with 80 plus schools. They have a couple of schools that are one-to-one, and then the other ones, they just have carts and everything. Putman City School has Hilldale Elementary and others. So COSN is a school networking group that basically a lot of district IT directors are involved in COSN. They come out with priorities. They do a survey of all the districts across the country and come out with what the priorities are across the country. And these are the top 3 priorities. A couple of things to notice, and my slide presentation needs to be modified. Those bullets weren't supposed to come up yet. Don't look. First thing to note, BYOD was in there in 2013, and it's kind of dropped off the list as far as being the top priorities. And mobile learning has been moving up, and this current year, it is the #1 priority right now. So school-owned versus BYOD when it comes to devices. Just some positives of BYOD. Less expensive for the district, obviously. No cost involved if the students bring their own. Device is a student's personal device. I think that does provide some benefits. They'll use it during school and at home. They may increase self-directed learning if they've got a device that they're using for education. And they might take care of it more if it's their own device. Negatives of BYOD, to me, these are pretty, you have to focus on these. Equity of access. If you're doing BYOD, you've got some kids who just have smartphones, and so they're using these tiny little screens. You've got some that have tablets. You've got some that have computers. So kind of making sure that everybody has something that's good enough for school use. Nonconformity for instruction. It's easy if the teacher can say, okay, everybody pull out your iPad, Chromebook, whatever it might be. They've all got the same device. They all got the same access and everything. If you've got some that have iPads, some that have Chromebooks, some that have just smartphones, whatever it might be, then it's a little more difficult. And then personal devices might lead to more distractions. They've got their games on there. They've got whatever else it might be. But to me, I mean, if you have devices in the classroom, you just need to have clear policies as far as if you're caught doing things that aren't school-related, then your device is taken away for a while or whatever. And then since I also handle making sure technology works for state assessments, if it's individual personal devices, that brings up a few issues regarding state assessments if they're using them for those assessments, which actually isn't probably not recommended. But if you have those questions, you can contact me. We can discuss it. BYOD 1-to-1 hybrid. This is, I should have meant to put OK Ed stats up there, but 170 districts have a BYOD program. Some of these districts supplement the program with school devices. Some considerations: can mitigate the problem of lack of conformity by suggesting a device. These are things I'm curious if anybody's doing that out there. Do you recommend, okay, we want to use Chromebooks, we want to use iPads, whatever it might be. Also, possibly offering a payment plan for devices. Anybody do that? I'm guessing no, but I'm really just wondering if there's a way of working that out where actually maybe the parents help pay for a device for their child. Wi-Fi networks, something very important as you increase devices. As I say, there's 3 stages basically for getting more devices in the hands of students. First of all, you've got to have the broadband connectivity. Secondly, you've got to have a Wi-Fi network. You can have all the broadband you want, but if you don't have sufficient access points around the school for all these devices, then you're going to have all kinds of problems. I was recently, during this last testing season, dealing with the district who basically told me, well, when we're in our math class, our Wi-Fi is strong. When we're over here in the ELA class, it's weak. And I was like, well, okay, for testing, you need to be in the math class. Rotate that classroom and everything else. I mean, you've got to have sufficient Wi-Fi. And then the third thing is getting the devices. Well, actually, getting it in the teacher's hands first, letting them work with the devices, and then getting it to the students' hands. But when it comes to Wi-Fi networks, 190 districts allow students to connect personal devices. I noticed UConn has guest Wi-Fi, even for parents. This is something I believe very strongly in. I mean, my 12-year-olds right now, they have iPhones, but they're not allowed. They're supposed to leave them in their lockers. That drives me crazy. This is a computing device that they can use in their education, yet they're not allowed to use it. I'm a very big proponent of allowing personal devices on school networks. You've got the filtering and everything else set up there. Open up your networks. But like I said, still keep it secure and filtered. Since like I mentioned, I'm the state E-rate coordinator. So I basically work with districts trying to make sure they get enough broadband first and then Wi-Fi access points secondly. So there's E-rate funding for both of those. Category 1 funding is for the broadband. Category 2 funding is for the Wi-Fi. So there is federal and state money available for that. Okay, let's talk devices. This is something I actually have everything you can think of. I try to use it as much as possible just so I can be comfortable with everything that's out there. So I've basically identified there's basically 4 different types of devices currently being used in classrooms. First of all is laptops. And when I say laptop, I'm basically talking Mac and PC. I call them, is anybody from Apple, Microsoft, or Google in here? I'm probably going to annoy all 3 of them, but because I'm pretty much agnostic and I look at positives and negatives of each. So I consider Mac and PC as 20th century laptops, 20th century computers. Basics OS, it's Mac, Windows, or Linux. OS updates, infrequent. They're free for Mac and Linux, and then Windows is still, I think they're going to be free from now on. I don't know. Until Windows 11 comes out, I'm not really sure how that works. Software, broad selection, but it's kind of the old way of doing things. Prices can be anywhere from maybe a few things free all the way up to paying hundreds of dollars for Office and for Photoshop and other software. So, everything working okay? No. Okay. Okay, good. Software upgrades, infrequent and typically cost money, or you're buying a new version. Designed to be shut down when not in use. The best laptops still, they're designed to be shut down. Slow boot compared to other devices. Well, if you've got an iPad, you've got a Chromebook, they're a lot faster. Typically requires plug-in for all-day use. They're getting better. All of these are changing. They're getting better, but still, if you're using something, using a traditional laptop all day, you probably need to have it plugged in. Windows devices may not have front-facing cameras or microphones. That's with Windows, you've got quite a few vendors making things. Some have cameras, some don't. Designed for local storage, but can use cloud services. It's kind of, they're the old way of doing things where you store files on the device, but you can also use cloud services. Antivirus may be needed. Internet connection is not necessarily required. Designed for mouse and trackpad. So next one. Then there's a couple of devices that are kind of out there in between everything else. Windows Surface. This is my Windows Surface. At the state, I was ready for an upgrade with computers, and I said, okay, I want a Windows Surface. This is my one and only computer that I carry around with me all the time. It's basically full Windows on a tablet-like device. So it's I call it a 20th century operating system in a 21st century form. Don't repeat that to Microsoft. It's Windows. Updates, again, I don't really know where Windows is going. They're talking about making it to where it's free. I don't know if you have anybody have any suggestions on as far as where Windows is going. Software, broad selection. Again, this basically, I'm going to just go through this fast because this is basically a repeat of the last slide because really it is, like I said, it's a 20th century computer. So software's prices vary greatly. Upgrades, infrequent, typically cost money. Designed to be shut down and not in use. That was one thing when I think tablet, I think, okay, this is an all-day device. I've got iPads that I use, and if I don't use those devices very much, they're fine. I can go 3 or 4 days without charging my iPad. This thing, if it's on, it's dead by the end of the day, before the end of the day. Also gets a little warm. So it's not really designed to me as a tablet, as I see a tablet. Slow boot compared to other devices. Typically requires plug-in for all-day use. It's better, but it's still uses too much power as far as being a tablet. Front-facing and rear-facing cameras, microphone included. Designed for local storage, but can use cloud services. That's one thing I find when I see people using these. I am very much a cloud person. All my files are stored in the cloud. I access them from every device that I own. I see people using these Surface tablets. They've got documents all over their desktop and all this. I'm like, God, that's old. It was a Chromebook. Now it's kind of becoming a tablet. They are actually creating Chromebook tablets too. Is supposed to be in the near future. So this, it's kind of things are changing with these software upgrades. Basically,